sold the house, took all the money and skipped the country. Mate, there's been nobody to help me if the Cold War kicks off. The life expectancy of a radio telegraphist is about 2.5 minutes. And I was like, yeah, but it pays the most, right?
What was the most danger you were in during that time?
Scariest ones, mate, were that when the Mujahideen came over. Man, if you want to look the devil in the eye, it's them. But anyway, when 9/11 happened, all the contracts got frozen. I was borrowing £1.1 million a month. Him and this other guy took me to an employment tribunal, saying I owed them 30 grand. I'm going, okay, if I don't get the money by 12 o'clock tomorrow, all of those contractors, their visas are getting cancelled. That's the leverage.
Thank you very much for coming. I think the point of the conversation is, you know, I love business and entrepreneurial journeys and to hear about the successes and failures. But you have a very, very interesting background on how you went into entrepreneurship. Before you even started business, you were in the military and you were doing some pretty crazy stuff. Let's maybe start into position of what you do right now. What are the businesses that you run right now?
So far away from my past, if you like, I've run in a global payroll business called Aspyrock. Mm-hmm. So what we do is we do what's called EOR services, employer of record services. So if a company, let's say a US company, wins a project here in the UAE, but they haven't got an entity here, we will employ their workers for them. Sometimes we do that for the whole project duration. Sometimes we do it until they open up their own entity, and then they'll transition the guys over. But we do that globally. And I've been doing that now, 22 years. So I built 2 of those up, sold them, and now I'm on the 3rd gig.
Incredible, man. Incredible.
Well, it's like that. And then the other things, you know, with mutual friend Ben, we have the plastics to jet fuel patents, and we're working on that. We're bringing that to the region. Hopefully we're going to see some really exciting things this year with that, because obviously that's a big problem, especially here. There's a lot of landfill, predominantly landfill.
Predominantly, yeah.
We've got the process and the patents to convert plastic waste into jet fuel,
Which could be quite useful right about now.
Yeah. Oh, it's got huge potential, huge potential.
Interesting. And we're going to go into it, into how you got into that business. But let's talk about your childhood. Where were you born, and where did you actually come from?
Actually, I came from Hong Kong. No, I was born in Hong Kong. Father was a military guy.
Okay.
So I was born in Hong Kong, and I was there till I was about 5. Then we went to Germany, and we were in Germany for another 4 or 5 years. Then I moved to the UK. I was about 9, 10. Dad left when I was 10.
Ah, fuck. I'm sorry
And he literally left. He basically, these were the days when the man ruled the house, right? So Dad, sold the house. We had a nice house. Sold the house, took all the money, and skipped the country.
Jesus.
Basically went to Saudi Arabia, where he ran the sailing school for SOL. He was a very, very competent sailor, did 2 round-the-world yacht races. He was an ex-special forces guy. He was good at all that stuff. He was just really shit at being a husband and a dad. So he left Mum literally destitute with 3 kids. I got an older sister, 2 years older, younger sister, 18 months. So I was really fed up because I was in a house full of women. It was a tough gig.
You were the man of the house at 10?
Yeah.
Damn.
So we lived in a council house, and it was a tough old time. But I'm not moaning about this. I actually quite like the fact that it was a bit shit. Because, I didn't have that many choices. No one was going to rescue me. So I used to go to school in the morning. I'll never forget it. I used to go to school in the morning and Mum's not there because she's already, cleaning toilets. I'd come back from school. Mum's not there now because she's now working in the pub. And that's what she used to do. So my older sister, used to cook for us. And it sounds dramatic, but I'll never forget, mate. She used to get like a big potato and she'd chop it up. These are little memories I have. I love my sister for all of this, mate. And she'd chop it up into tiny little cubes, and then she'd fry it, and it looked like we had more than we actually had. It was, it was tough. It was really tough.
Do you think that's where your drive to succeed comes from?
Yeah, because no one's there. There's been nobody to help me. Dad had gone. He'd taken all the money. He'd skipped. He was gone. And then my mum discovered that she had this long-lost sister in South Wales. And I was in my final year of high school. So I actually lived with a neighbour. Mum went down to South Wales, took my little sister. My older sister was now working. She took my little sister, and I lived with the neighbour to finish off my high school. And then I moved to South Wales to this mining village called Quaker's Yard in South Wales. Mate, don't ever go there. It's like mate, it's a mining village in South Wales, and I'm an English boy coming from Surrey. That was a great experience.
That toughened you up.
Mate, it was everybody's punch bag. It was shit.
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, what am I going to do? I mean, they weren't doing anything, and they were from there. So what opportunities did I have?
Did you try to go to work straight away after high school or during high school?
Yeah, well, what happened then was I went to Merthyr Tydfil Engineering College. This sounds batshit crazy, by the way, but it's absolutely the truth. The course got abandoned because these scumbags that are on the course were intimidating the professor for not giving them higher grades. I was like bandit country, mate.
Who are you going to school with? What the hell, man?
So I was like, my God, what am I going to do? I just need to get out of this situation. As I said, no one's there to rescue me, mate. My older sister, she had joined the Royal Signals at that time. And I thought, right, I didn't know I was going to go into the Royal Signals. I just thought, right, I'm going to go. There's nothing else in South Wales. So I went to do the Army basics tests. They have this big centre that you go to where everybody goes. And you do your run around the woods, press ups, all that kind of stuff. And then you do very basic tests, English, maths, general knowledge stuff. But it was all, multiple choice. So you could guess and get lucky if you didn't really know. So we did all of these. And then it's so funny because you go into this massive hall and it's like a massive cinema and they're giving you your scores. And it's right, all those, okay, everybody that got between 10 and 20%, pay attention. These are the jobs open to you. And, it went through the different levels. So there'd be like the infantry and all that kind of stuff. And then it was getting up. And I scored really high. I think it was like 85, 90%, whatever. And it said, right, okay, these are the jobs open to you guys. You can do all of those ones, lower down. But these are the techie jobs. And I thought, okay. And I looked at this job. And it was this guy, and he was doing Morse code. I thought, that looks cool, right? And so when and it said that was the highest paid. And I was chasing the money. I mean, by the way, it's pennies, but I was still chasing it. So, and when I had the interview, I'll never forget it, because it's Cold War era, remember? We're going back to the 80s. And I was sat across this desk with this officer, and he's going, okay, Michael, which job did you fancy having a go at? And I said, well, just tell me again, which one pays the most? And he said, well, yeah, that radio telegraphist. I went, I want that one then. And he said, I'll never forget, he said, you do realise that if the Cold War kicks off, the life expectancy of a radio telegraphist is about 2.5 minutes. And, mate, and I looked at him and I went, because I was young, and I was like, what is this Cold War thing? And I was like, yeah, but it pays the most, right? I was like, I'll take it. I'll never forget, I was on something like, mate, it was pennies. It's about £7.50 a day, something like that. And I used to send £5 back to Mum and keep £2.50 for toothpaste and polish and a few snacks in the naffy. That's how I got into that. And as it happened, Morse code was like music to me. God knows how. Never even heard of it before.
Just clicked.
And that's how I got into being this thing called a radio telegraphist, which was also actually seen as a really cool job. But I had no idea that job would lead me down the path that it did, because, of course, I just went for it because it was the highest paid.
Do you still remember Morse code now?
Some of it. And my daughter, Eleanor, she can actually, she's 25 this week. Mm-hmm. And I taught her how to say, do her name years ago. And every time I see her, I ask her, and she can still do it.
Excellent. Must run in the family.
she can still do it. But I was really, like I say, I was really good. And Morse code was the top of the RTG kind of stuff. It's like, how fast are you on the key? That was the kind of swinging dick thing.
So useful skill when if something happens and you're at war, you need to go fast. You cannot wait let me try to fight. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, they don't use it anymore, do they? I mean, they phased that out years ago. Communications moved on so fast today.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
But anyway, I was really good at it, and I came top of that course, and then they sent me to Germany, and I was supposed to be in Germany for 4 years, and that posting I had was a place called Seven Sigs, right? Seven Signal Regiment in Herford in Germany, and most would regard that as a penal posting, right? Because you do 6 to 9 months of the year in the field, right, in the blooming woods. So you're not going to spend any money again, I was really good at it. And then they did another mini course, and I came top of that. And then I got selected to be the Corps Commander's operator. So I was so lucky because everyone else is driving around in Land Rovers, sleeping in tents. Now I became the Corps Commander's operator because I came top of this course. I got to fly around in helicopters with him and sleep in barns.
Great,
Mate, it's brilliant. Everybody hated me. It was really good. But I only did 2 years there. And so I got what they call short-toured, because in those, I don't know if they still have it now, but in those days, if you had another family member in the military or in the same corps, and I was, my sister was in the Royal Signals.
What was she doing there?
She was what was called a data telegraphist.
Everybody's in the telecommunication business, in your family.
Yeah, my younger sister went and did the same thing as my older sister too. She became a data telegraphist, but my younger sister was also, bear in mind, she was in South Wales, so she had to get out there too.
She also had no choice.
She was like out of there. So my sister put a claim form in. I want to be with my brother. You remember I told you everybody hated me already because I'm flying around in helicopters and not sleeping in a tent. I then got short-toured, and I got sent to 262 Signal Squadron in Cyprus.
Oh, that's much better.
In Decalia. Mate, just up the road from Iron Upper. So I was 21 years old, and I'm going there. So it was brilliant. So my sister got me out of this penal post and got me into Cyprus, where I was still a radio telegraphist, but I was pretty good at canoeing in those days. So I was a canoeing instructor there too. So 21, canoeing instructor, RTG, living in Cyprus. Man, life was good. And then while I was in Cyprus, then I got sent on to do my Class 1 course. I came top of that course, and this is where I learned there was a unit that I'd never even heard about. And I was like, how come I never heard about this? So I beat 2 guys that were on that course, and they were from a unit which was Special Communications, right, that worked with the UK Intelligence Service. And I beat these guys. That should not happen. And they were telling me, Mike, you should come and join this gang. I'm like, I've never even heard of this. And they're saying, yeah, you get, I think it was like, my God, was it something like £3.80 a day SC pay, special comms pay? And I'm like, I'm in. Because it was, honestly, all my life, I was just chasing that extra £3 a day, please.
Did you have an idea of how dangerous this work would be?
No. I was like, it was a bit like this Cold War thing, wasn't it? 2.5 minutes. I was like, it's £3.80 a day extra. Sign me up. My first posting with these guys was down to Ascension Island in the South Atlantic, which was the stop-off point for all the guys going into the Falklands. But there's about good 30 degrees difference in temperature. And guess where I was? So I was in the sun. So that, Ascension Island, by the way, is a big US base there. That used to be one of the emergency landing sites for the shuttle.
Oh, okay.
But strategically, if you look where that is...
Space shuttle, you mean?
Yeah. If you look where Ascension is, right on the equator in the South Atlantic, it's a real strategic importance to the US and the Brits and stuff. One as a staging post into the Falklands. But it was, you're on the equator. It was brilliant. So I was there for nearly a year, just doing comm stuff. Obviously, there's no danger or anything there. That was a cushy number.
Doesn't sound too dangerous.
No, it's not. No. Yeah. I mean, our most dangerous thing was getting the sharks out of the water that we'd fish for every night. It's like, right, whose turn is it to hold the gaff tonight?
How long did you serve?
13 years.
That's a long gig. That's not a small gig. That's a proper time in the army. What was the most danger you were in during that time? What was the most danger?
The Bosnia War, without a shadow of a doubt.
Oh, really? So you were in the Bosnia War?
Yeah. That one was, particularly challenging.
Give us some context. A lot of people here, I think, have no clue about what happened in Bosnia and why you were there.
We were there as UN. Yeah, and the Bosnia War is quite interesting because, people started off as supposed friends. So, the north, you've got these guys from down south who are fighting, alongside each other, fighting the Serbs. But further down mid-country, these guys, not so many months later, are fighting each other. So it was all what we used to say. It was a village mentality. Everyone was fighting for their own village, and pretty much fuck them over there, and also fuck us. So we had some real challenges there because we used to go from Split all the way up, right up to Tuzla, which is where, the Serbs. But along that route, there were some really horrible places to be. A place like Gornji Vakuf, have you heard of that? I mean, you used to get sniped at, you used to shit yourself going through there, Gornji Vakuf, especially because we had what they call soft-skin vehicles. So we'd have like a Land Rover Discovery and a Jeep Cherokee.
Yeah, it's not a Humvee. Yeah.
No, and then when you go into these places, you get stopped on the outskirts by the infantry and the artillery, all these boys with tanks and and they'd stop you and they'd say, right, okay, we're going to keep going. Are you ready? And then they batten down their hatches, right, in their armored vehicles, and they escort you through. So that was challenging, all of that stuff, and quite scary. I got sent there when my daughter was about 6 to 8 weeks old, my first child.
Damn.
And I was what they called the deck commander there. So they didn't change me out. They don't change the team lead out as much as they do the other guys, obviously. So I was there, just under a year, I suppose. When I came back, Harriet was, she was a year and a bit old, and she wouldn't be in the same room as me. She was like, who's this strange guy?
Well, it's been a year. I haven't seen your daughter.
Yeah,
She's never really have a good memory.
Yeah, there's no, and it's one of the reasons I quit. Really, was that I thought, right, okay, I've had a lot of fun.
Give us an example.
It's like, well, I mean, when you're getting, if you're in trouble, you're still going to find a way to laugh at it. And I'll never forget, another good mate of mine. When we were coming back from our last trip, we go up country, do what we got to do, and we come back down. And then you'd have a couple of days, resupply, and then we'd be told you've got to go back up. And that's how life was.
What is this stuff that you did up north? What is this stuff? What is it? Because all this stuff is like, I don't fucking know.
It was all intelligence. So it'd be meetings.
Gathering.
Basically just meeting people. We'd have an intelligence officer with us that we had to look after, and he would have meetings with whomever. And our job was just basically, make sure he doesn't get killed, and make sure the communications are delivered in a timely manner, like straight away. Come back down, communicate everything that we needed to back to London, and then wait till we have to go again. And
to gather more intelligence, to report, and constantly just going in these cycles of, I need to go into enemy territory to go get information, come back to base, communicate that information, then go back again.
Yeah.
Pretty much?
Pretty much. But the trips were always...
Yeah, through battlefields, where people were shooting at you.
It was always quite exciting. And of course, Bosnia, mate, has really extreme temperatures. For the summer, it's boiling.
Okay.
The winter, freaking Arctic warfare gear.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Your finger, if you didn't have proper, military gloves on, your finger would stick to your weapon.
Oh, I mean,
it was that cold.
Minus 15, minus 20.
Yeah, it was really cold.
Yeah.
So we used to, I can tell you some of the mad shit we used to do up there. But some of it was funny. I'll tell you this funny story. I think I just told my daughter this fairly recently, because she was going, have you got a funny story? And there was. So we were up, we were right up north, again near Tuzla, and our guy was having meetings, so we just have to disappear for a bit and then come pick him back up. So while we disappeared, we were thinking, right, where should we drive? And we got stopped. And you were always getting stopped. There's always checkpoints, by, militia. There was always that kind of stuff going on. And, there's two of us. So it's like, what are you going to do, really? So you always wanted to try and talk your way out of any situation. And we came round, I'll never forget, there was this barrier set up, and this militia guy came up, and we thought, what's he want? He said, you want woman? Mate, we're in a frickin' war zone, right? It's like middle of the night. you want woman? And I'm looking at him. I said, mate, no, just let's go. He said, you have cigarettes, you have woman. I went, no, mate, I've got no cigarettes. And he said to me, 2 cigarettes, full blowjob. I'm looking at him, and he gets these women. They came out of the woods, right? And they look like they've been, they've been in a war zone for a long time now. So they've got hardly, they're all rough as hell. And the headlights of the vehicle, the women are all stood in front, and he shouts at them in whatever language, and they obviously told them to smile, and they all start to smile. And you're looking at them, mate. It's like, got a tooth, missing 3 teeth. Got a tooth, missing 3 teeth. They're bless
Jesus.
them. Yeah. And I, of course, I said no, and didn't have any cigarettes, to be honest.
Couldn't even trade.
But that was a surreal moment of
surreal.
laughter in a bad situation. It's like, yeah, that was mad.
Yeah, that's very surreal.
Yeah.
That's like from a movie. That comes. You could put that in a movie.
Yeah, well, it was pretty crazy. And
And then he let you go.
Yeah, he just let you go. We used to get stopped all the time. The scariest ones, mate, were when the Mujahideen came over to Bosnia. Can you remember the Mujahideen from Afghanistan? They were fighting you boys, weren't they, for years?
Yeah.
Man, if you want to look the devil in the eye, it's them. Cold, hard killers, those sons of bitches, yeah.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, really scary people.
Radical extremists.
I mean, they've been killing for years, right? They're just cold, ice cold, and you can see it in their faces. And they used to stop us and try and see what we've got in the back. They want us to open the back of the vehicles, and we'd say, no.
What did you have in the back of the vehicle?
Well, we would have codes and stuff. We can't let codes into kind of anybody's hands. But the codes, funny enough, actually, I didn't tell you this, have I? We had actually an exploding briefcase, right?
That's proper movie stuff.
This was mad. And it sounds exciting, right? But you don't want that in your car because, of course, you're going, you're not going down Shakeside Road here. You're like bouncing through the woods. So nobody wanted it. We used to take turns because you had to set it. And then just like a grenade, you pull the pin out.
Oh, damn,
right?
Jesus.
You pull the pin out and you're like, by the way, it's not going to blow the whole car up. It's just going to blow your hands off if
that's all right.
If they forced it. And it would incinerate, whatever's in it. So we were always, we would never let them into the back. Well, it was a fun time. Remember when you're young, today, the kids, everybody loves watching, playing on Call of Duty, right? That was our Call of Duty in many ways. As a young man, you feel invincible.
Yeah, you were not playing,
but
though.
It was.
You were not playing, though. It was real life.
Yeah.
Real consequences.
Yeah.
And yeah, like real consequences for you, but also for people in your, I guess, line of sight who you were you had to kill.
Yeah, it was all.
Did you have to kill anybody?
No.
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 Did you never have to shoot your gun?
Not there. No.
Not there.
No. No. Look, you might raise your weapon, but you don't. Remember, we were only a small team, so you never wanted to get into a firefight.
Yeah, because it would alert everybody else to your
Well,
presence.
it's not that. You're going to get. It doesn't matter if there's 4 of you.
Yeah, you're not going to get out of.
Well, one of which is essentially a civvy. So there's 3 of you. You're going to get outgunned very quickly because it's never 2 or 3 of them, is it? I told you the David Beckham story, didn't I? Did I tell you that one before?
I don't think so.
It's a good story, I think, because it just tells you, ultimately we're all the same, right? So even if you call yourself the good guy and that's the bad guy, you'll still both, I don't know, support Manchester United, as was this case. So when we came back from up country once, we went to a place called, Makarska, which was up the coast, and it wasn't a UN safe zone, but it was regarded as, safe.
Neutral.
Yeah, nothing should be kicking off there because it all kicked off up, central Bosnia and up. Mm-hmm. So our intelligence guy that we're looking after says, let's go for a steak up there. And I'll never forget because I just had this new guy fly in because we keep rotating the team. And I said to him, right, you're staying here at base, man the radio, we're going up, for a steak up the road. It's about 40 minutes up the road. We're in the 110 Land Rover, an old, British Army Land Rover. Mm-hmm. and we've got no weapons because you're not allowed to. You're not supposed to carry when you're down like that. So we go to McCasker and we go to this restaurant, and the intelligence guy that we're supposed to be looking after fell out with some freaking 7-foot monster. Because what happened in McCasker, the guys that had been fighting up north, they would come down for R&R down there, rest, right? And then, chill out and then go back up. Anyway, it all kicked off. And of course, we can't let our guy get hurt. So I said they had security on the door, and I said, can you hold this giant? We're just going to get in our vehicle and fuck off. Because, we had nothing. And he went, yeah, okay. So we're now nearly back at our vehicle, and this bloody giant was in this car, and he drove it straight at us. This was like something out of a movie. It was mad. And it was a tiny little car. Or maybe it looked tiny because he was so freaking huge. Mate, what a guy. And he flew out the car, and all he wanted to do was beat the fuck out of, our intelligence guy, which we couldn't allow. So we all bloody pile in. By the way, mate, there's like 3 of us going into this bloke, and he's taking it all. Taking everything we've got and some. And I'll never forget then, the cops turned up from the town. I didn't realise this at first until, I'm over this guy, my mate's over this guy. My mate's really giving him some. And all of a sudden, this copper smacks him on the back of the head. And my mate Stu turned round and just went bang. He didn't realise who he'd hit. So he'd hit a copper, and the nose went everywhere, claret all over the place. Next thing you know, we're all bloody, we're all arrested.
What did the officer say to that guy, or the guy said to the officer?
He spoke to him in French or something. He kicked it. Never, ever did I get to the bottom of what the fuck did you say to create that.
Really, yeah. It just...
Oh, man, it's a nightmare. So we get thrown into this jail, and of course, I'm in charge of this team, right? And I'm like, okay, can I call the UN military police, let them know we're here? No. So it's not like, well, I'd like to complain.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah. Can I put a formal complaint in?
Yeah. Do you have a form?
No. So they wouldn't let us do it. And one of the things that you always kind of taught is you got to try and bring some rapport in. And I remember it was this guard. He sat there and going, "Do you like Man United?" And they're all miserable face at first. And then you go, "David Beckham," and the guy's going, "David Beckham," right? So now he sits up, and all of us in there, I don't think one of us were a Man United fan, but that didn't matter. We were then.
For sure.
We were then, and we started to engage with this guy, and he warmed up, and he got really friendly, and it was all on the back of Man United, David Beckham. And then, eventually I said to this guy, "Look, we just want to fuck off, mate. Come on." And he said, "Okay, you can go." He said, "One of you can go and get your vehicle, and then when you come back, everybody else can get in." And I said, "And what about the giant?" And they said, No, we're going to hold him." So, okay. So I said to everybody, and because we're all a bit shaken up with this, right? Okay, he wants to volunteer to get the vehicle. So I'm like, "Mate, I should have sent the civvy, right? I should have gone, mate, you got us into this." And so fuck it, I said, I'll go. And then my mate said, he's such a fucking sound bloke, Stu. He was like, no, I'm coming too. So me and Stu then went and got the vehicle, and we're basically running around the little, Croatia is quite medieval, the towns. So we're scuttling through the little alleys because, of course, we're thinking, what the fuck, and we've got no weapons. So we get to the vehicle, drive it, and just as we get to the police station, these 2 carloads of hoods, what I'd call them hoods, they had like these big Volvo States, and it was full of blokes, baseball bats and everything. I thought, oh, fuck.
Jesus Christ.
Stu's in the back, so he jumped straight into the back of and all we had was a wheel brace, right? And by the way, those guys would have had guns for sure, but the police came out, and they held these guys, and they brought the rest of our team out, and they said, "Okay, you can go." And I said, "What the fuck? We're not going to get anywhere, man. Look at it, we're dead." And they said, "No, we'll follow you, and we'll hold them back." We're then driving, And the coast road, you got a massive cliff. So I'm driving as fast as I can back to Split, and everyone's looking in the back. You know, where's the cars? Where's the cars? And they're getting further and further back. The police were holding them back, and you could not write what happened next. Honestly, mate, we get a blowout, right? The puncture, and we're like, oh no,
Jesus.
right? Because we knew the cops had peeled off at this time. We're thinking, the hood's still coming, so we get a bloody puncture. I'm thinking, fuck, right, we're done. So we're looking like, where the hell can we pull over that we're not on the side of the road completely? Uh-huh. So we managed to we pulled in on this lay-by, and there was big rocks, and we went behind it, and we changed that tyre under a cigarette lighter, right? Again, Stu was burnt to fuck, and we changed that, and we got back. We got back safely, of course. And we got back.
You're here now, so yes, the end of the story is that you got
mate,
out.
We got back about, I don't know, was it about 5, 6 in the morning? Now, bear in mind, this guy had just flown in, and he's replacing one of my guys, right? And I've told him, we're going for a steak. It's safe. Right? So we walk in, like, the shit kicked out of us, battered and everything, and he's like, and then when I said to him a couple of days later, I said, right, we're going up country, you're coming, it's your turn. And he was like, I'm not going. I went, what the fuck you mean you're not going? He goes, you went for a bloody steak and that was safe. And, so he bottled it at first. Of course, he had no choice. He had to go, and he was okay. But initially he was like, fuck.
Oh, I can imagine.
So that's quite funny. But when you look back at it and you think, fuck me, that David Beckham comment got us out of there.
Yeah. David, if you're listening, you've saved a few people just by being good at football.
Yeah, everybody loved David Beckham, didn't they? Don't know if they still do, but anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if they still do, but at the time he was a sensation.
Yeah, he was.
Anybody who loved football.
Yeah.
And part of your training, did you have to know about stuff that could build rapport with the people that you were, I don't know, the enemy lines, or how to build rapport with their culture? Did you go and actually study the culture of other people? Not really?
No. I think most military guys, they kind of think on their feet. They don't. You're put into situations where, okay, you can do what you're saying there. It depends what role you're going to do. Obviously, some people's jobs in the military, they are going to do that. They're going to really study that. They're going to, I don't know, learn Arabic. They're going to do all of these different things. Mm-hmm. Our role didn't involve any of that because we were never supposed to be in that situation. Mm-hmm. But if you are in that situation, then I don't know. It's just instinct, really. Right? Okay, I'm not winning here. He hates me. He's looking down at me. Mm-hmm. I know I've got to try and befriend this guy in some way. I've got to find some connection. It's a survival instinct.
Actually, it's interesting. This is the second time in last month that I have entrepreneurs who've been through military situations. So I don't know if this is a common theme of this podcast now. But I was talking to Taha. He's part of our paddle network.
Yeah.
He was a paramedic in the Red Crescent in Libya. So Red Cross.
Wow.
Yeah, so during the Civil War. And he talked to me about him. He was... At some point, he had to negotiate with a guy who was pointing his weapon at him, and he had to find a rapport quickly because that guy could have just, been trigger happy. And the only thing that saved him, he said, is that he just talked to one guy, established a rapport, and never let go. But there was 4 other guys that were pointing, and he was just on one who he thought, and probably rightly so, was the leader of this little... group of people. It was an in-between zone. But yeah, establishing rapport, and also quite a useful skill to have.
Well, we're all humans, right?
Yeah.
And if you can establish, that if you can be humans as opposed to enemies, or just be human, that's the dad, that's the son, that's the brother, isn't it? We're all that. Mind you, look at Dubai. Look where we live. Everybody lives in peace here, don't they? On the whole, okay. There's bound to be some stuff that we don't know, but. On the whole,
but it's still minor compared to what you see in Europe.
So I said to you earlier, I'm up and down that elevator, and I meet every single nationality you can think of. Everybody's respectful. Everybody's polite. Everyone will hold the door. Everybody's just nice to be around. Yeah. Doesn't matter what religion you are, what colour you are. How come everybody gets on here and they don't on the streets of London? What's that about?
It's a really good question, because you would suppose that in the streets of London, there's been a democracy for way longer. More freedom, more everything, and it doesn't look like that right now. More people being suppressed online, more fines about saying something on social media.
Yeah, what's that? That's ridiculous, right?
Yeah. To be fair, in the UAE, there's also quite strict rules in place on social media, defamation, so on and so forth, which are probably there for a good reason,
Yeah.
but also strict. I think the fact that this place in the UAE, and we're digressing, but it's important, I think also, there are rules in place that people follow, because the consequences of not following them are quite strict and severe.
Yeah.
And that puts you in a situation where, well, this is the framework. You come into this framework. You don't bring your framework with you.
Yeah.
You come into a framework which is established. And if you don't like the framework, well, we'll take you out of the framework. Go back home.
Yeah.
And it goes very quickly. People get deported here all the
Yeah.
time. They go against the law. They commit a crime. It's like either prison or back home, and cannot come back here.
Yeah.
So that does, so like you don't have that in Europe.
I love that. A lot of people that, maybe friends of mine that have maybe not been here before, they will have this view that I live, under this, controlled and restrictive, life. But I don't. I can go and drink. I can go to brunch. I'm not restricted at all. And I like living in an environment where the consequences for being a wrong un are severe. I like that because guess what? I'm not going to make that mistake, so it's never a problem for me.
Yeah.
So if you come here and you want to behave like that,
you think twice about doing something that goes against the law, and maybe like 10 times, and it has to be under some severe consequences that you will do something wrong and not something that is like I don't see why every time you think about doing something illegal, if you do, you probably put in jeopardy your whole life here in the UAE.
Yeah.
Like that's, but I think that's what doesn't happen in Europe. Like people go to prison for 3 months and then get back out.
Yeah.
And they've committed crimes for which in the UAE you'd get deported.
Yeah.
Just, go home, do that there. We don't need you here.
Yeah.
Paradoxically, we're talking about safety now with, bombs going out in the sky and, rockets being blown out of the sky. But it's still safer than in a lot of countries that I know. What's your view on the current situation in the UAE in general, in the Middle East?
I think it's going to play out relatively quickly. What I see about the Middle East nations here is everyone is measured in their response. That's one of the reasons we love living here. Everything is measured, calculated. Nobody wants to escalate everything. I think they're pretty intelligent here. They play the long-term game. There's no need for this to go batshit crazy. And I still think it's a safe place. As I was saying earlier, I'd still rather be here with the odd missile getting through than walking around the streets of London every day of my life.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I had a friend of mine who we're talking before. A friend of mine who was saying that he's surprised by the underwhelming response of the countries that are being hit in the Middle East. And I was trying to explain to him that, well, yeah, one thing is the US and Iran hitting each other, and another thing is for the armed forces of each country to go to war with Iran, which from a religious perspective, political perspective, sort of, I think it would be a shit show.
It does blow the whole region up. And there's no need, America's got enough to deal with this themselves, really. So we don't all need to be sucked in any more than we are. And as you're saying, you certainly don't need the GCC countries battling this out.
Yeah, so you think it's going to be a quick one?
Yeah, I think so. Kind of like, I think, Iran at the moment, and what do I know really, but I think Iran at the moment are almost like, we're going down. They're not stupid. They must know that ultimately, if the US wanted to, it's like they'll wipe them off the map. So they're almost like, let's have a pop at every man and his dog. We're going down. Some of you are coming down with us. I'm a little bit older, aren't I? I'm 60 now. And do you know what I strive in my life today is peace. And, living in Dubai day to day, is really, I get that. I get it every day in my life. And I meet Russians, I meet Iranians, I meet French. Not so much peace there. But I'm English. It's your birthright, isn't it? You're born having this. Now, remember, when you can talk, you don't talk French.
But yeah, we digress, my friend. So Bosnia was the worst one for you, right? So
yeah, by a long shot.
By a long shot.
And that's when I came back from that. My daughter wouldn't be around, initially. And of course, when you've been in that environment for a long time, you're a little bit strange when you come home, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's like, whoa. But I was very calm. So people cut me up on the roads. I didn't really give a shit. there's all the other road rage going on. I'm like, mate.
Yeah, perspective.
Yeah.
Anything with Bosnia that stayed with you, but maybe not in a nice way, not in a funny way, but anything there that you still think about now?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of things. I'll never forget, again, when we're going up to Tuzla, it's the winter, and we saw these two children, right? And I'll never forget this little girl, my God, how much she could have been, I don't know, 10, 11. And she was holding, mate, it was like something out of like, an old war movie, really. This little girl, she was holding her brother's hand. By the way, we're in freaking like Arctic warfare gear, right? And she's got a little cardigan on that's got holes in it all over the place. And I'll never forget, the blooming toes were coming through the shoes. It was horrific. Where's mum and dad? I don't know. I've no idea. But we gave them all of our rations. We gave them loads of it, which you're not supposed to do because you don't know what's going to happen to you. You could be stuck for the next God knows long. But you know what? We were all, if we could have put those kids in the car and taken them back home, we would have done, but you can't. So that pisses me off, mate, that kind of stuff. And then, there's a woman that, she was promised that we'd look after her and stuff if the shit hit the fan, and we didn't do that. We weren't allowed to in the end. So that pisses me off. So, they're probably the two main things that kind of like think, what happened to them? We didn't do the right thing.
Why not? You couldn't?
Because you can't, mate. That's the good thing, or the good and the bad thing. But the thing about the British Army, and I think why it is, such an amazing force, or has been over the years, is because nobody sits around, debating stuff. There's a hierarchy.
There's the army.
It's a hierarchy, and it's followed, and you've just got to follow the mission that you're on, right? As hard as that may be, you've got to kind of ignore that and do what you've got to do.
And that's also a reason, though, why you left?
Yeah, I came back, kid, my daughter, she was 1 year old, wouldn't be in. I was upset about those things, some situations where if things had gone wrong, and then what they do is I then got sent to Cyprus, which was a cushy place. It's a calm place. It's just a big communication centre thing. Again, strategically very important. But, I got sent there again for a year because I had to give 1 year's notice to quit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 1 year's notice to quit that job. So then they spend the next year trying to say, don't do it. Because they spent so much money on you, I guess, So I did that and then I left, yeah. But it was the right thing. I left at age 30.
So transferable skills. You're now in Civi. What was your plan? Because you had a year to think about it, right?
Yeah. Mate, I was chasing money.
Back to it.
Still chasing money. And, I was still like... So I ended up, bizarrely, taking a job that paid me double what I was on in the military stuff.
That's a good start.
Yeah, it was a great start. Again, everybody hated me. I landed on my feet and I went to work in the US, in Arlington, just outside Washington, D.C. And I worked for a consultancy there, which designed mobile phone radio networks. And they designed, I think, more than 50% of the world's mobile phone radio networks. So the design of those is designing where the the antennas that you see on roofs and stuff.
Sure.
It'd be designing where they go and the frequencies that they operate on. And of course, you only get so many frequencies to use. There's so many channels. So you have to replicate those. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. So I went to work for them. And it's quite funny, because I was a British guy, they sent me back to the UK. But I was treated the same as a US. So I was a US citizen. So I came back to my own country on an expat package.
Very nice.
Mate, it was brilliant, right?
Very nice.
So I then came back and I was working for them still on a project in BT Cellnet in Slough, next door to Windsor.
What exactly did you do?
Design these mobile phone radio networks. So it's literally it's all tech stuff.
Yeah.
You have software planning tools.
Yeah.
So when these countries or these operators buy a license, they buy a license, and it could be, I don't know how many channels they've got, And under that license, they have to cover X percentage of the population over a period of time. If they don't do it, they'd lose their license. They have to do it fairly quickly. But again, there's only so many frequencies you can use. So you can't, if you've got this one on, I'll make it really simple. Let's say that antenna is pointing that way, and that's on, I don't know, call it channel 1. The next site here can't be on channel 1.
Gotcha.
Right? So, but you haven't got 50 channels, right? You've only got half a dozen, or a dozen. So you've got to, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. And then when you design a site, you go, actually, that building there is perfect because the antenna on top of there is going to cover all of that area. And then you go to that landlord and he says, get lost. So now the next building's way over there, right? So it's honestly, it's like a moving jigsaw puzzle. So for every site, you probably had to have three options to cover. So it was techie stuff. It was a cool. And back in those days, in the 90s, the mobile world was taken off massively. There's so much money around. So I did that for 3 years, working for the consultancy, and then I was, basically all the recruitment agencies were always trying to get us to go freelance contracting. And I was always scared of it, right? Because I thought, all these contractors, they must be gods. They must be the most, the smartest people out there. How am I going to compete with that? I wasn't sure about myself, really. But eventually this guy persuaded me to do it. Again, it was the money. Mate, it's just about the money, man. This time, I'm married now. I've got 2 kids, so I've got a mum, it's like, so it's, goddamn, still about the money. So I did. And I went to work for Nokia in the Netherlands.
In the 90s, Nokia was massive.
Mate, it was buzzing. There was so much money swirling around there. And then that's when I got into the, working as a freelance contractor. And very quickly I realised, actually, I'm really freaking good at this. I thought all these people were going to be gods, and they weren't. They weren't at all. And I thought, holy cow. So I actually got promoted quite quickly, and I ended up being the country RF manager for Nokia in the end there. So I was like, fuck yeah. I'm all right at this. or I'm blagging it and getting away with it. I was still straight, though, because I worked with some Aussie guys, right, who'd been in the contracting game for quite a few years. And Nokia had a policy then. Oh, man, I should have done the same, but I just couldn't. They had a policy. If you worked 4 hours overtime, you could bill another day. Bear in mind, most of us were on anywhere between £400 and £600 a day then, right?
Well, some serious
money. Yeah,
money.
it was great money.
At that time, specifically.
It was great money. And I was always really honest about that, right? These Aussies, mate, they absolutely raped Nokia. And to this day, I've never seen anybody get away with billing for more days than there were in the month.
It's Nokia's fault for paying and not paying attention.
Unbelievable. And this is how I got into what I'm doing today, was when I got into that manager's position at Nokia, they were hiring hundreds of contractors, mate. And all the recruitment agencies, everybody was just starting out these tech recruitment businesses in the UK. But they were hiring guys that had been selling car polish on a market on the back streets of London, right? But they were cheeky chaps. But they couldn't technically qualify anyone. So all they used to do was they had software that would match buzzwords, I don't know, GSM and stuff like this, which was, all mobile operating stuff. And they would just bombard, they'd just give you 30 CVs. So then you've got to spend the next God knows how many hours filtering that crap. And I thought, no, there's got to be a better way here. So I spoke to Nokia and I said, I want to set up my own technical engineering recruitment agency. And they wanted me to stay. They wanted me to go full time with Nokia then. And I said, I don't want to do it because, wife and kids were back in the UK. Because I used to travel, fly out on a Monday, back on a Friday.
Oh, that's tough.
Basically, it was like military 2.0 without, without the guns. But you're still away from home, still away from family. But of course, I needed the money to feed the machine. That's how it was. But Nokia allowed me to do that. And they allowed me to supply into Nokia. So then when I had enough guys, I stepped away from that job. And then I went home and I was running the recruitment business. That was going great. But the recruitment business was also stressful because back in those days, a recruitment agency typically had to pay the contractor within the first week at the end of the billable period. So at the end of the month, by the first, end of the first week, the next month, that guy should have been paid. Today, it's like 30-day terms and stuff like this. But in those days, I had to do a thing called factor financing.
Yep.
I was borrowing £1.1 million a month, right?
To do the payroll.
So I could factor finance 85% of my book.
And the rest.
So the rest, had to come out of cash flow 15%. But that was a lot of stress, man. And
what was the margins on that? How much margin were you making?
Oh, we were easy on 20%.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. Made a lot of money.
How many people were working for you at that time?
So full-time staff.
Yeah.
No, I ran a small ship, mate, because I was into clients that knew me because the position I had with Nokia, it was great.
So you had a brand on the CV and the network that came with having worked for Nokia.
Yeah.
That's super important.
Massive.
Yeah.
It was massive, but I should have started that. If I'd have started that years ago, man, I would have sold that for 20, 30 million like some of the other boys did.
Mate, in hindsight, it's very easy to go and say, I should have done this, should have done that. I think we were talking about with your mate Harrison. I should have bought the apartment in Blue Waters.
Yeah, that's right.
Should have bought in 2005 here. That would have been a good idea.
Well, that's actually, do you know what? When I was actually at Nokia in 1998, one of the guys I was working with, he said, Mike, have you heard about this place on the Palm? This Palm thing? I went, what the hell's that? And
in 98?
98. And these are the days when they were buying off-plan. Yeah, they weren't built.
Water. Yeah, in the water. There was no palm there in that
Correct.
98.
But it was all coming through. And these are the things, remember, back in the the late 90s, early 2000s, those apartments were flipped 3 or 4 times before they were even completed.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember, but I remember some of my clients. Because, I came here to work for HSBC. So I did a good 2.5, 3 year stint at HSBC, which is my brand on my CV, like your Nokia.
Yeah.
If you want. That did help open doors, get me to other places. A nice little brand and network really does help. And my clients had a portfolio of clients. Some of them had been buying from 2004. And there was a guy had Russian. Of course, I had a Russian and French portfolio because these are my 2 languages I speak apart from English. And one of them was saying, in 2005, we bought a building in Golden Mile off plan. I said, "What do you mean a building?"
Building?
Yeah, he said a building. Yeah, it's like cash. Just brought in off plan. It's off plan, right? So he said I think it was like 5% down payment at that time. It was really like. Nothing. He said we flipped that in 3 months and we made about 100% on the money, on the money that we we put down because it went up by 5%. What did you do then? So we bought another one. I said, how many buildings did you buy off plan? He said 8. We flipped all of them to 2007. Then he lost half.
Yeah.
In 2008.
Yeah.
And the subprime mortgage crisis. But he said it was an unbelievable time. You would buy something in 05, 06, and sometimes a month later you would make 150% on your deposit, sometimes 200% your deposit in a month and a half.
That's nuts.
Nuts. Like nothing compared to whatever's happening now. It was just gold rush.
Yeah.
And everybody and their mum was selling off-plan taxi drivers and so on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there were clearly signs to get out. But when your taxi driver is selling off-plan property, you should probably think about what you're doing with your investments.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I should have done it. But anyway, that's when I first heard about it. But when 9/11 happened, and because my recruitment business was so niche, right, we didn't really go outside of the mobile network design. I did have one guy that I brought in to try and do some IT recruitment. He ended up trying to steal from me. He was mad. But 9/11 happened. All the contracts got frozen, right? And because we were still a small agency, I had some clients basically refuse to pay me, claiming that they hadn't been paid, but they had. And then I had a bunch of US clients file Chapter 11, which is this pseudo, very strange bankruptcy. You're bankrupt on Friday and you make like a phoenix on Monday. What the hell is that? So, and I've still got 1.1 million a month out there. Jesus. So, man, the stress was bloody horrific. So I had to do I'll never forget this EWI, they were called in the Netherlands. But luckily, I had a contractor friend of mine that was working inside that company. So I had to go through international litigation and freeze their bank accounts. Thank God I had a guy on the inside that, because when you do that, by the way, this is how I learned a bit about business. It was like, through pain. There was nobody there to guide me. I had no business partner then. It was all...
No mentors?
No, it was all,
Whose bank account did you freeze? The Americans?
No, I froze the Dutch company.
Which was doing what? Which was the one that was...
They had the money. Ericsson had paid them, right? But because, we were small, he thought he could just wipe me out and keep all the money, which he couldn't. So I managed to freeze his account, which was amazing.
That's
right?
incredible.
Cost me about 20 grand to do it. But when you do that, you have to name the account you're freezing. You can't just name the company and say freeze all their accounts. It's like, what account?
So that's the inside man.
So I had the inside man that I'd worked with at Nokia, and he said, Mike, here's the account number. And that's how I did it. Thank God, right? Because they owed me a couple of $100,000, mate. And I'll never forget that guy calling me, the director, because, he didn't want to return my calls when I'm chasing my money. When his account was frozen, oh, my God, milliseconds, the guy's on the phone. Mike, I promised to pay you if you release the freeze. I was like hell, mate.
Yeah.
You need to find the money somewhere else, and then I'll only do it once I've got every penny paid. And that's what we did. So there was that one. Thank God I got that.
But how did you get out of this? Because obviously these people that you are... did your contract stop with Nokia, Ericsson, and so on? Did they continue? Or they were like, sorry, Mike, bye? Yeah,
so...
They let go of the people?
Yeah, because Nokia lost the projects. The world was frozen in the tech space. So yeah, and then the vendors, they lost their contracts or they were frozen. It was like all contractors now.
It's just like a domino effect.
Yeah. So they filed Chapter 11. I'll never forget that company. They charged Chapter 11 on me. They owed me like 380 grand sterling, by the way, and they filed Chapter 11, and of course, my contracts were always saying, I'm not paying you if your client doesn't pay me. So at least I had that. So the contractor's risk was always essentially 1 month's money. And when they filed this Chapter 11, on the next week, they actually asked me if I could send a couple of contractors. And I was like, hell no, you owe me, all this money. And then after 2 or 3 months, because I'm just now learning what Chapter 11 was and how do I navigate around that. My business is going to the wall because I've got employees. This one guy, Robert, who was shaving off business because his girlfriend worked in a IT recruitment business. So he was stealing business. The business was flat anyway. Clients are owing me money. And then the lawyers that are handling the Chapter 11 wrote to me and said, we are, the administrators for the Chapter 11, and we, you know what the Americans are like. We represent the United States Court of this, and they've got so many initials after their name and all these fancy logos and stuff that are supposed to scare you. And it said that everybody that got paid 3 months prior to that client filing Chapter 11 was deemed to have been given preferential treatment, and you got to pay all the money back.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, you got to pay all the money back, and it goes
to the bankrupt.
And it goes into the pot for all the creditors.
Oh well, but you're one of the creditors.
Yeah.
They owe
and
you money.
I went like hell. I went, not a chance. And then another month goes by, and then I get a bigger letter. This time there's some gold embossed logos, so it looks even more serious. Yeah, and it's some other guy with God knows how many initials after his name. This went on for a year, and I'll never forget the last one. I represent the court of New York and United States of America, and we're coming to get you. And I'm like, come and get me, man. It's like they're good luck. You owe me 300 odd grand. And in the end, they said, because it was obviously it went all the way to court for all the creditors, and they said, look, it's looking like no one's getting anything. You're getting pennies on the pound. You can accept a settlement now of 3 grand, or you can see how you go in court. I'm like, 3 grand or 0. I'm not really seeing the difference. Mm-hmm. So I thought, fuck it. I'll roll the dice. I got 0. But it's like, I mean, it's
$3,000 or zero
it was
as a fair
that was
shout.
nuts. And then what I did at the same time, I then had to close my recruitment business.
How do you wind down a £1 million per month company that still had to pay 1 month of salaries to the people that were employed, even though their contracts stopped? Do you have a £1 million gap?
Yeah, well, I did have. Well, it didn't turn out to be the whole one. No, obviously, I got the money. I recovered funds from, like, say, the EWY in the Netherlands.
Dudes, yeah.
I managed to recover, but the business had made so much money. I was able to, thank God, not lose my house on it. And yeah, I had to pay a sizable chunk of money.
Yeah, obviously you made some profit, and that profit was there to cash flow that last month or two that you were paying people. Damn.
So
but that's all your profit.
Yeah, it was. You know, I still had some good funds left. And the UK had a thing then called taper relief. So it's basically you could close your business and only pay 10% tax on your profits and extract those out. So, you know, I've got a wife and 3 kids. I've got to safeguard what I could at the time.
What you built, yeah. That makes sense.
You've got a mortgage, you've got kids in school, all of that stuff. And I had then, 2 guys. One was an ex-army buddy of mine, and that was really disappointing because he became really good friends with this guy that was basically stealing. And so I laid that one off pretty quickly. And then my mate that I was in the army with, I said, "But I'm so sorry," but I explained the situation. It was what it was. There was nothing I could do. And he was in the cells, and there was nothing he could do. He was trying, but there was nothing. And I said, "Look, come and use the office, come and use all the facilities, use everything until, you can try and get something else." And next thing I know, him and this other guy took me to an employment tribunal saying I owed them 30 grand. I was like, "You're kidding me." Right? Unbelievable.
During 9/11, after 9/11, after everything's shut down, the business is scrapped, people are not paying, clients are not there, and you're getting sued.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So they did that, and it didn't last too well. It did last about a year. What happened was, on the first hearing, this guy, Robert, that got thrown out straight away. It's like, "You're a joker, get out." And then the other guy, because I'd allowed him to use my office facilities, right, he said I made him come into work. So his case, and because he had come into the office, but he wasn't doing any work, I was saying, use my fax machine, use my printers, use my phones, use everything.
Yeah, you're being generous.
That came back, that bit me on the arse. So his case was allowed to continue, right? So fast forward, probably about 9 months now, and about 17.5 grand in legal fees. Bear in mind that in those days, the employee didn't have a single legal bill. Bear in mind, of course, it's 30 grand they're claiming, right? So the day before this, we're going to have a 2-day hearing, final hearing. So the day before, my lawyer calls me up and he said, the other side are asking if you'd like to settle. And of course, I'm going, "No, I haven't done anything, no, I'm not, I'll see him there, 10 o'clock, don't be late." And they came out, I can't remember the exact figures, but it was somewhere along the lines of, this guy said, "I'll take 18 grand as long as you give Robert 7. Robert's whose case has been thrown out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, get lost. Bear in mind, they're saying I owed them 30, right? About 2 hours later, they came back. "All right, I'll take 12 grand as long as you give Robert 5. And I was like, no, it's still no. And then literally about 4:45, so there's only like 15 minutes left in a lawyer's day. Remember, they're out the door at 5, aren't they? This phone call came in. It's like, "I'll take 3 grand, screw Robert." Right? And I was still, fuck no, right? And my lawyer said to me, "Mate, you need to make the commercial decision. It's going to cost you 5.5 grand in legal fees for this next 2 days. Win or lose. That's what it's going to cost you." And I'm going, "Well, I'm going to bloody win, aren't I? Because I don't owe him." I said, "And by the way, if somebody owes me 30 grand, I'm not saying to them,
3.
12 hours before I'm seeing them in court, okay, I'll take 3. That's proof." I said, "So tomorrow, when we go to court, first thing I want you to tell that judge is, by the way, he wanted to take 3 last night, so clearly he's full of shit." And the lawyer said to me, "No, this is all off the record, and you're not allowed to mention that this discussion even took place.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, are you kidding me? So you're not even, it's like, what is this, without prejudice thing or whatever? Anyway, you're not even allowed.
But these are facts.
Correct, but you're not allowed to bring them into the court.
But
Right?
they're facts that can influence a decision from you.
Well, pretty
or from
clear though, isn't it? You know. So anyway, my lawyer said, look, make the commercial decision. Stop being so emotional about it. And of course, I was emotional because it was my business and I hadn't done anything like that.
A bunch
I
of
didn't-
dicks.
Yeah. Anyway, I paid the $3,000. And do you know what? That pisses me off to this day. Look, my financial situation was different then. Today, mate, I'm taking you. I'm going all the way with you. You're not getting away. You're not going to rob from me today.
I've been through a few processes like that where it wasn't about the money anymore.
Yeah.
It was just about reputation. And if I had not done that with that guy, any other guy would have come up to me and go, yeah, let me fuck him over.
Yeah.
But it's not a pretty process because it can take years.
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself sometimes, should have paid the $3,000 because I'm in 50 and it's still not over.
Yeah.
So maybe you did take a right decision. You don't know.
Well, funny enough, that guy goes around the world today hating me.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Man, incredible. And people tend to remember things only in the way that it suits them.
Yeah.
Never in the way that reflects a more factual reality.
Yeah. It's like, dude, I didn't steal a penny from you. It's the other way round.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So I had a few of those, unfortunately.
A few of those.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably the lightest one, really.
Really?
Yeah, so when I did, so that was the end of the recruitment business.
Okay.
And this is how I then got into what I've been doing for the last 20 odd years. So a friend of mine, he had a software company that also designed mobile phone radio networks. And it was 40% owned by Nokia, funny enough. So he said, Mike, and it was a software company, but what they do is they supply the software. And then, of course, they would supply consultancy services too. So they would put in their high-level engineers and they'd backfill it with contractors for these projects. But what they do is to get these contractors, they would have to go to recruitment agencies where they were paying 20, 25% margin to the recruitment agency. And they were only operating around a 30% margin. So this guy, he said to me, look, can you come and create a global network of recruitment agencies for me? And I went, okay. I said, I'll do it for about 18 months. Yeah, Steve Mockford was his name. It was called Aircom International, the company, who are still a client of mine today.
No way.
Yeah.
That's a true relationship. That's a
Yeah.
real business relationship.
Yeah.
And you guys are mates?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he sold out. He sold out the whole lot. But,
The business is still your
it's
client.
really still there, and I'm still remembered from those days. It's great. So I said, okay, I'll come and do it, but I'm only going to do it for about 18 months, and then I'm going to set up a payroll business. Because what happens with a recruitment agency, so let's say they say, all right, I've got 2 guys going to work for Nokia in the Netherlands. What happens is that they will speak or they will refer that contractor to a payroll business to make sure that they're compliant in the Netherlands.
Taxes,
yeah,
laws,
visas if that's needed, just to make sure that they're compliant.
Insurance stuff, maybe.
All of that,
Yeah.
all of that stuff.
All the boring admin stuff.
It is. Now, I thought I want to be the payroll company because I don't have to borrow a penny, right? Recruitment business. Remember, I was borrowing 1.1 million. Man, the stress was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So it was like, no, I'm going to do this payroll company business. Yes, I've got to have a lot more contractors to make the same margin, but I've got no financial risk. That's kind of where I want to be.
Do clients pay you up front for every month or every 3 months, or how does it work?
No, so the clients are paying the recruitment agency.
And the recruitment agency has to pay you.
It has to pay me. Or that contractor's walking off site. But I don't have to pay that contractor
If you don't get paid.
If I don't get paid.
So you don't. So the default risk for you is the recruiter, the recruitment agency, but you don't really have a liability towards the contractor because if they don't pay, you don't pay either.
Correct. So it was an easier place to be.
That's nice.
Now, of course, the risks are greater when it comes to visas.
Why?
Because you've got the cost of the visas, and of course you've got to cancel a visa. But what we do if I don't know the client so well, what I'll do, most of my competitors will take 1 month's salary, if not 2 months' salary up front, and they'll hold that.
That's a deposit.
And they'll hold that in case you don't pay them. At least they can pay the final salary whilst they're terminating that worker.
That sounds fair.
It is, but there are some agencies we build a really good relationship with, and if you've got an average guy on $10,000 a month, 10 of them, that damages their cash flow.
Big time.
It stops them growing. That stops me growing.
Well, that's fair.
So depending on who it is, I'll help them and help me because I know they're going to pay me. And then I have some other clients that have tested me, especially in this region. It's funny as hell. Some of the big boys have tested me. I'm going, okay, if I don't get the money by 12 o'clock tomorrow, all of those contractors, their visas are getting cancelled. That's the leverage. And of course, they don't want that.
Of course, they don't. That will disrupt their
correct
work, on the projects that they
So
have.
it's quite good if you hold the visa because you've got leverage. If you're the recruitment company, what leverage have you actually got with these clients? We've got that leverage.
Yeah, cancelling a visa in the UAE is like you can't work. If you don't have a work permit or a visa, you can't work for a company. You can't work here illegally. You will get deported.
Yeah.
And
so it's massive.
100%.
And the reputational damage for them if that happens.
Yeah.
So we're all cool with that. But look, anyway, I went back to my friend.
Yeah.
I said, I'll do it for 18 months, but I want to start a payroll company. So I did. I did it for 18 months. I opened offices for him in Malaysia, Singapore, Australia. And I opened a payroll business. And on day one, we had like 400 odd contractors on day one because my mate said, okay, Mike, when you open it, I'll make all of my contractors have to use your business.
Oh.
So I started.
Mate.
Yeah, it was great.
That was so nice of you.
It's brilliant. But I saved him 30% on all of his workforce too. So it was
Win-win.
Yeah, I mean, he was a straight guy. Nokia bought some more shares at that time, and he even gifted me some shares. So I got like a 50 grand payout. He was so pleased with what I did, but he was such a straight guy. Really nice bloke. Steve Mockford.
That's awesome.
Top man.
Yeah, that sounds like a top man. Good for a change after all those assholes you had to work with.
Here comes the arseholes.
Oh, wait. Welcome to business, my friends.
Mate, yeah,
in any business, you have your assholes.
Yeah. And here comes my naivety in business at that time, really.
You build out this agency with all the recruitment agencies of the world that he wanted.
Yeah.
Now they're starting to use you as a payroll company.
Yeah.
Right? Where did you set up the payroll companies? I guess you have to do a lot of structuring here. It's a lot of corporate structuring, right?
I started in Cyprus.
Okay.
So I started day one with 400 contractors with one client, Aircom. And I said to an old army buddy, I'm going to start this payroll business. I said, I'm just going to do the sales. You're in Cyprus. Let's do it in Cyprus. It makes sense from a tax perspective. Makes sense. He was on his arse, right? He was absolutely on his arse, this guy. He was earning, I think, about 12,000 a year.
That's not much even for that time.
No, re-enameling sinks and taps and stuff, right? I said, I've got this great idea, mate. Tell you what, we'll go 50-50.
Oh, how generous of you, my friend. How generous.
I went 50-50. He'd gone from earning 12 grand a year straight on to 50 grand a year. He was a titles boy, so he wanted to be managing director. You can call me Mickey Mouse, I don't care. I'm just chasing the money, remember? Nothing's changed. I don't care what's on my business card.
But you're getting smarter. You're chasing money that is less risky.
Yes, for sure. Well, less risky in that respect, but kind of still lost as much. So I gave this guy 50%, and he had the managing director title, which he really loved. And he grew the back office team in Cyprus. And I'm doing all the sales. And I started that in February 2004. And I was getting divorced from my first wife. And we got divorced in 2009. And I didn't have enough money, because in 2008 here, the market, and we had properties in the UK. I would love her to have had them, but the judge wouldn't allow it because how's she going to afford to run those and pay the mortgages and everything else? So I had to carry on with that negative equity debt, plus I had to pay her out. So I sold 75% of the business, and I sold it for like fuck all money when I look at today. But that was in 2009. He's then on 75 grand a year basic, as am I. But I've had to sell out, and I've got no money. I've had to pay that all off. So I started, from zero again. He's like living like a king. All of his mortgages of his homes in Cyprus been paid off, and then we carry on. But I'm not getting management accounts out of this guy. And of course, if I'm doing all the selling, and by the way, the guys that bought me was a UK accountancy practice, and they were going to throw all these extra sales in, and they were going to create this big machine. They did fuck all. I mean, literally nothing. And I kept saying, listen, where are these bloody management accounts? I'm really frustrated because I'm selling like there's no tomorrow, and Fag Packet tells me there's money there, there's dividends there. Remember, I'm bloody broke now. Yeah, I'm on 75 grand, but you got all these debts and stuff. And eventually in 2012, I'd had enough, and I said to him, right, I've had enough of all of this. I'm going to walk away from the whole business. And I spoke to the guys that had bought me, and I said, I'm out, or I'll buy it back off you. And I said, it's up to you. I'll buy it back off you, pennies on the pound, or I'll walk away. And if I walk away, you're getting nothing, and you know what's going to happen. All the clients are going to come with me, and good luck doing whatever you want to do. So I bought it back off them. And then I went to my man in Cyprus, said, right, I now own, he owned like 5% or something. And I said, right, I'm now flying in with my own accountants, and I want to see what the hell's been going on. Mate, about half an hour later, he sent me an email with a letter saying, I resign. And by the way, everybody resigns. So the whole back office, there was about 8 of them, they all resigned. And he said, I was in America at the time, because I was now married to an American, and that was a mistake, but we talk about that another time. My kids call it the American years. It's when Dad completely lost the plot. And
that sounds like a spicy story.
Oh, mate. And he said, the key's under the doormat. And I don't forget, 133 Arch Macarius Avenue, Limassol. Mate, so I flew there, right? Sure enough, keys under the doormat. I go into the office, and he had a big fancy boardroom, and he had his office, all the staff. There's, I don't know, 5 or 8 of them. They'd literally put their pens down and fucked off, right? And I've now got 400 or 500 contractors to pay, and I'm the only person in the business.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm like...
But now you own the business as well.
Yeah, I own the business, and I'm like, holy cow, where do I start? How do I start? So I started to get into this, and I remember it was about the middle of the month. So I know I've only got about 2 weeks to work out what the fuck I'm going to do, because I've got loads of people to pay, and I don't even know where to pay them from or how. So I'm trying to work this all out, and I get into the banks and stuff. And it turns out that we had bank accounts I didn't even fucking know about. So invoices were getting, sent to clients. Clients were paying into a bank account I didn't even know about. And the whole Cypriot lot were all having it off, weren't they? They were all living like bloody kings, mate. No wonder I wasn't getting any management accounts or dividends or anything.
So all the profits were basically staying in his pocket, and he was just paying the payroll.
Mate, it's like over $500,000, and I have to stop.
Wow.
Because it got to a point where, right, I can now spend the God knows how much time and money trying to chase all of this, and I'm going to lose the business entirely, or I can just go, fuck's sakes, I know what I could do. I know I was good at sales. Right, protect what you've got, ring fence that, and work it all out later. So that's what I did. So he got away with that, to be honest. But he got away with it because it was timing. It's like, so then I built it, I safeguarded it, cleaned that mess up, shut all of that shit down.
How long did it take you to clean it up?
A year, really.
Yeah.
Because, it took a year. And then I moved the business here. That's when I moved to Dubai. 2012, because Cyprus, remember, the EU forced Cyprus to freeze bank accounts.
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember.
That's a bit of a problem for a payroll company.
I was in real estate at that time.
Yeah.
I was in uni, and I was doing selling real estate in south of France. And the Cyprus froze a lot of Russian money.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Man, that was a shit show. Like, we had a deal, I think it was in the millions of euros. I don't remember, I think it was 5 or 6.5 million euros. Big deal for a 20-year-old kid who's trying to make a 1% commission. Yeah, to pay for his lifestyle, which was lots of partying, and also for university that was supposed to pay for. which took me a while to get that one through.
I bet.
I only did it for my mom to get the diploma. I was like, I didn't need this. But anyway, yeah, I remember the freeze, and I remember a lot of Russians got caught in the freeze, and money was seized.
Yeah, it's like 20-30%. It was
It
a huge
lot of money.
amount.
It's a lot of money.
Huge. But my largest client, Aircom International, were here then. So, because I was coming to Dubai from 2005. So I thought, right, screw it, move it here. So that's what I did. I moved the business here in 2012. Yes, I had different entities around the world, but the main business, if you like, was here, which worked out really well because then later on in 2016, I sold again for the second time in another UK accountancy practice. I sold 60% then.
Accountancy practice?
Yeah, so it was an accountancy. So they formed UK limited companies and managed those. They did some UK umbrella payroll as well, but they were missing the international bit within their group.
And how many contractors do you have in the payroll at that time when you sold? Thousands?
Ultimately, within the whole group, we ended up with like 5,000. I think it was in 92 countries. It was
in 92 countries.
Yeah.
So you had companies in 92 countries to be able to employ.
Not necessarily. In some countries, you just have to register with the tax and social authorities, and you become registered as a foreign employer. So you still have to pay the taxes, but you've got a wage tax license number, as if you did have an entity there, but you don't have the actual entity. You don't need it if you're just doing payroll. In some countries, you can do that. Others, you have to open up an entity. And others, if you've only got the odd one or two contractor here and there, you'll have a partner in that country. And because I've been doing it so long, I've got a partner network I can reach out to that I've known for many, many years, which is trusted. But on the whole, I like to have my own registration without a partner. It's just better that way because everything's just your brand.
That's fair.
So I tried to do that. So I sold out in 2016, another 60%. I was tied in for 5 years. They wanted to be tied in. Again, another one of these where they promised they were going to chuck all these salespeople and it's going to be worth so many more millions than it is now. And so that was all horse shit. And I can tell you now, if you look at that 5-year period I was tied in, well, it was longer because of COVID. If you look at that period, I would have earned the same money had I kept it.
Damn.
So anyway, I got rid of the last 40%, to these guys after that, but I was already outside of restrictive covenants, so it was great. So I could go again. So we went again, literally 2 years ago. It was our second anniversary at the end of Jan. So Aspyrock's only 2 years old, but it's not really. It's 22 years old, and we're now already where I was at the 14-year point. We're there at 2.
Yeah, the power of the network and experience.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So finally seeing some good, some good results of the 20-odd years, really.
You've been doing this for a while. You've been persistent. You didn't change your fork or go somewhere left, right. You just went payroll for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's bound to, be successful.
Yeah, it's worked. And when I opened again on this third time, it was really great because we didn't advertise. And I ended up being friends with some of these clients, of course, that you've known for so many years. So you're friends even on social media.
Yeah.
And I remember one of them, she saw that, that I'd started again on the social media, and she called me up, and she said, "Mike, is it right that you've gone again? I was out with lunch with Jennifer at the weekend," and I said, I was laughing. I said, "Yeah, we just started." She went, "Thank God." I said, "Why?" She says, "I've already told the board in the US, it's okay, Mike's back." Mate. And they honestly, the Monday, they issued me a global contract straight away, and off we went.
Oh, that's incredible stuff, mate. You must have done something very
mate,
right.
I was so humbled by it. I was like, done the right thing, looking after these people. I've always played the long-term game. I'm not trying to rob you today, and make as much out of you in the next, 3 months. Screw that. I'd rather you pick the phone up as there 18 years later, for a fair price, and and that's worked well.
It takes some sacrifice to do a short-term gain sacrifice to do the right thing most of the time.
Yeah.
It's sometimes not that easy to see how your decisions can affect you in the long run, but you should always play in the long game. It's a much more interesting game because business is long.
Yeah.
Do you think Dubai has helped you, or Dubai, UAE in general, has helped you in your entrepreneurial journey in some way?
Oh, massively.
Really?
Oh, massively. Anybody that's in Dubai, I would say they've got something about them. They want to succeed, and they're going to work hard. No one, you can't just sit on your ass here. You're going to drown very quickly.
Yeah.
So I just think that the environment, the buzz, and everybody wants to help everybody from what I've experienced here. And it doesn't seem to be, I'll help you, but what's in it for me, right? It's everybody wants to see everybody else succeed. That's my experience here.
Maybe within the paddle network, but I've seen some other more opportunistic people.
Well, for sure, they exist everywhere. But on the whole, yeah. But I tell you what, without a shadow of a doubt, the best thing has been the paddle network.
Oh, 100%.
The amount of business I've had from paddle is insane, and it's still coming.
I know. Us too. And by the way, you're one of our clients now, strangely enough. But paddle has really, really helped. It's just about bringing people who want to build something together and keeping them real without any bragging, any of this talking bullshit all the time. Because you do have that a lot in the UAE as well. Not like everywhere, but it's just this place attracts so many people who just talk and don't do anything.
Yeah.
That this paddle network has been a refreshing change of pace. Yeah. It's probably the best networking tool I've ever witnessed. I don't really like networking. I'm not a big fan of going to these events where you have to go and talk to people when they're like business oriented.
Yeah.
It's not a very relaxed setting, and you don't really get a lot of business done at that time. Much more so outside of these events where you go have lunch, dinner, or maybe you have a sports event. And at that time when you're playing with somebody that you don't know, you have a bond. There's a bond. There's something that gets there. And it's just so much easier to talk to somebody.
It's much nicer. Nicer. My fiance, she's always saying to me, "Oh, I can organise this. You can come to this corporate event, this network." And I'm thinking, yeah, they're all a bit suity for me.
A bit suity.
It's like I've got 2 suits.
You got 2 suits. That's it. Is it one is for a wedding?
I've got a funeral suit.
Oh Jesus! Christ.
And I've got an everything else suit.
Oh my incredible stuff, Mike. Listen, we have to take this over to a close.
Okay.
I first of all, thank you so much. This was very enjoyable, and I think we could still talk for a few hours. No problem. Because I clearly want to dive a little bit more into the business side, stuff you've learned, the things Clearly, we've heard some of the failures and the mistakes, but there must be some lessons as well there that are quite interesting. But one thing I do ask all of my guests is for anybody who's looking to move to the UAE, build a business in the UAE. What would be your 3 tips or your 3 things not to do or to do here?
Pay attention to where because here it's all about money, right? You're going to lose money really quickly here in terms of where you set yourself up, where you choose to live. These are key, and who you choose to form your company for you. So first and foremost, I'd say do your research on that. I've just taken 4 clients on in the last week, and they went through some setup company somewhere else, paid them the money, and they vanished.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I mean, there's loads of that happens. Like it never used to be like that, but there's a lot of that. Pay attention to where you're setting up first and foremost. Don't automatically go all whistles and bells. You can start slowly and you can start sensibly. Manage your costs. Don't get sucked into this Instagram reality bullshit.
Yeah. Don't start with the fancy office.
Yeah. Forget all of that.
Furniture that nobody fucking needs.
Forget all of that. So, be smart, watch your pennies, play paddle.
True. That's a good
because everything here is relationship driven, right? It absolutely. That's what I think it is. And so get yourself out there, but I'd say control the finances would be number 1. Because it's like, we have this Instagram reality, isn't it? Everybody thinks I live this fancy life here in Dubai. Yeah.
The point is not to make money and spend it all. The point is to make money and save some. And there's a lot of people that come here who do make great money.
But you'll hemorrhage it.
But lifestyle just...
I think that's the number 1 thing is control your emotions there.
Yeah.
Be smart on where you set up. I mean, when I first set up here, by the way, I set up in the wrong free zone. It was cheap and cheerful. But that also cost me money.
Yeah.
Because, you know, trying to get a bank account was a nightmare. Even getting my driving test was a nightmare. My driving license was a nightmare. They didn't recognize my eye test that was done in Dubai.
It's a
All of
nightmare.
these, you know. So where you set up is important.
We see that a lot as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
We see that a lot. And it's don't do all the bells and whistles, but also don't go for the cheapest option there.
Correct.
Because you don't. It still has to serve your business goal.
Yes.
So try to find the golden middle, or go to companies like ourselves who actually know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, because most of the time you get there's a lot of people who set up businesses, but there's not a lot of them that are there for the year. There's a lot of opportunity as well.
Yeah.
But you need to be ready for it, and you shouldn't just grab all of them at the same time, because you will drown in stuff to do and not do any of them, and that becomes a show in itself.
Yeah, one of the things I have learned, you know, and I've got a business partner who's based in the States, and he does trust me, you know, and I said to him, because he's seen me say no to some clients. You know what it's like. You're going to spend the most amount of time on the least profitable part.
That does happen a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. So quite often, you know, I want your business, and I do want your business, but I don't necessarily need your business. When I was 30, I wanted and needed.
Yeah, you're hungry, you take everything you can, but you can start being picky and choosy when you're a little bit fatter, when there's a little bit more maturity there, it's a little bit more sensible decision because you can.
Yes.
When you don't have any business, it's really hard to say no.
I know.
When you have to make payroll, and that $5,000 contract or 10 grand or 20 grand that you need to make there, that are gonna, you know, make sure that you hit your, that's hard to say no to. That's difficult. I can't say that when I started, I wasn't taking everything. I was taking.
Oh, me too.
I didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Just like, sign here.
Yeah. I took all the crap too. Yeah, absolutely. And then spent God knows how many hours
really
wishing I hadn't.
Really hard to say no. I guess once you start having 100, 200 clients, you're a bit more comfortable and say, sorry, this is not a good fit. And that saves you so much time. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Mike, thank you very much for your time.
No, thanks for inviting me.
I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah.
Do you want to say a few words about Aspyrock and where people can find you, and if they need an EOR company?
Yeah, I mean, you can find us. Best place is go online, you know, aspyrock.com.
Okay.
Everything's all on there. Tells you about the countries we cover, tells you what we do. All the contact details are there. If you're needing global payroll, check us out.
Fantastic stuff. If my 1,700 subscribers and need something, they'll be able to go boom, and then just tap there. It will be in the link in the description. Who knows? Maybe we have a few global companies in there. Yeah. If you guys are a global company, please let me know. I'll be interested to meet you. At the same time as sending you to Mike. Mike, thank you very much. Cool. And let's do this again.
Yeah.
Cool.